Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. What if Tsunade passes the Clan Restoration Act for Naruto and Naruto build X Harem with X Shizune and X Samui Part 1? And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. Tsunade looked out the window of the Hokage mansion. Her village had prospered in the last 2 years since the end of the Fourth Shinobi War. The child of the prophecy had indeed been Naruto, who had ended the war by killing Madara, and bringing Sasuke back. Though Sasuke was being kept in the underground prison, kept from the eyes of the public, Tsunade knew Naruto hoped more than anyone that Sasuke would get out, and be normal again. Tsunade didn't think it was possible, as Sasuke had done too much, seen too much, and killed too many. His mind was messed up, but it was up to Naruto and Sakura to accept it. While Sakura preferred to be on her own anymore, Naruto could not be left alone. Since becoming the village hero, everybody begged for his autograph, offered to buy him drinks, and gave him gifts. Though none of this had inflated his ego, he had noticed it. Every once in a while, she would happen to look out the window, and see a note he would leave on her window when he needed to talk to someone. At first it had been all about how he had lost his ability to use the Nine Tails chakra mode, because he had began to harbor feelings that he tried to deny. That the villagers really had changed from the murderous people they once were, to going as far as to make things dedicated to him. Books, food named after him, and even kids' toys that looked like him. Tsunade would always offer the best advice she could, but she could never tell how much it helped. As she stared out the window, she spotted another part that had changed since becoming a hero. Naruto was walking by the Hokage mansion, with Karen tagging close by to him, obviously flirting with him. Since the war, Karen had been sworn to the Leaf Village, and became a Leaf Village Kunoichi. Being part of the Anbu had trained her to be stealthy, but in the village, she was just as loud-mouthed as she always was. Tsunade counted down to herself, and when she got to 0, she saw exactly what she always saw in this situation. Some other girl would walk with Naruto, and Hinata would be close in tail, feeling like she wanted to join in and flirt with Naruto. She was always too nervous though. Even on the nights Naruto would need to vent, she couldn't tell him about her. She needed to be more flirty on her own, without Naruto going to her first. The door opened, causing Tsunade to turn around quickly. Ino walked in the room, and shut the door behind her. "What is it, Ino?" Tsunade asked, slightly annoyed that Ino hadn't knocked. "The Sand siblings have arrived. The Cage wishes to speak with you," Ino reported. Tsunade looked at Ino with more annoyance in her face. "Where is Shizune?" she demanded. Ino was a terrible secretary. "You gave her the day off, remember?" Ino asked. As Tsunade thought back, this week had been full of binge drinking while she worked. Wincing slightly at the thought of how unprofessional she was, she made a quick mental note to stop working and drinking at the same time. What was left of her liver would thank her. Oh yeah, I remember. Well, send him in, and knock next time," Tsunade said, slightly embarrassed with herself. "Okay." Ino bowed, and exited. Tsunade had a moment to think about what was going to be said. The Cage had asked for this meeting after hearing about Tsunade passing an act for Naruto, which hadn't been used in a long time. What made him think about getting even slightly involved was beyond her, but she was willing to hear him out. As Gaara walked into the room with Kankuro and Temari, Tsunade took a healthy pull and the bottle of booze she had at her desk. She had to stop doing that, but now was not the time. "Thank you for seeing us," Gaara said as he took a seat. Kankuro and Temari stood behind him. Temari herself looked quite nervous. It was rather funny to see her so nervous about whatever, though she was sure it had to do with Naruto, which was going to probably be the topic of this conversation. "Is this about Naruto? Because, you know, I haven't even talked to him about the Clan Restoration Act 1 passed for him. I'm aware he may not take it, but if he does not want to have multiple wives, then I can trash the act. It's a shame he doesn't know about it." Because the Sand Village hoped to be a part of this. A lot of talking has been done, and we would like to offer Tamari under a political marriage. Gaara informed, and Tamari blushed. Tsunade looked at her quizzically. She didn't think Gaara would force her to this, but maybe something was being hidden here. Tamari, Tsunade called. Tamari snapped out of her trance. She looked at Tsunade and stood at attention. We should talk in private. If you will excuse us, Lord Casecage. Gaara nodded, and stood. He quickly led Konkuro out of the room. After the brothers left, Tsunade activated a soundproof seal in the room. She took another long swig of her booze, and offered Tamari the bottle. Tamari took it gladly, and finished the bottle, which should have lasted Tsunade another 4 hours of work. After she sat the bottle back on the desk, Tamari sat back and tried and relax. So tell me. Did your village force you into this? Tamari blushed and paused for a moment, feeling awkward about this conversation. They didn't. She breathed deeply, steadying herself. Just act like it's a mission, she thought to herself. I like him. He has always had such drive, and passion. I would like to stay here a while, and get to know him. You know, you will have a lot of competition for his attention. If he does like you will have to share him with other women. Does that bother you? Tsunade asked, accepting her short answer. As long as he loves me, I don't care. I know what I'm possibly getting into. That's good. But what happened to Shikamaru? Tamari paused a moment. Looking angry at first, she looked at Tsunade. That man is too lazy for me. He hates being troubled by anything, and I'd rather have someone who likes life. I see. Okay. As long as Naruto is fine with the CRA, then you are in. If not, I'll ask him what he thinks about the political marriage. Tsunade said, standing to shake Tamari's hand. Smiling, Tsunade brought down the barrier, and went to the door. Gaara was standing patiently, and Konkuro was asleep on a waiting chair. Thank you for your time, Lady Tsunade. Tamari said as she bowed. You're welcome. I'll be sure to get back to you as soon as possible. We will be in town for a while. May we get some village passes? Gaara asked. Sure. My secretary will get them for you. Tell her I said it was okay. Tsunade smiled, and headed back into her office. Going to her desk, she took a paper out, and wrote on it quickly. Going to the other side of the room, she took out a messenger bird. Putting the note on its leg, she opened the window. Naruto, she whispered to the bird, and it tweeted happily. Flying from her, it took off toward the specific person. Naruto walked around happily, having people talk to him as he passed. Naruto liked the recognition he got from everybody, though it did bother him sometimes. What really bothered him was how the women of the village seemed to change their tone so quickly. Though the one that was tagged to him now had always acted like such. Let's go eat, Karen said, holding onto his arm. Her holding onto him never bothered him. He liked her a bit, and he liked the jealous looks some people gave him. He felt bad liking the jealous looks, but it was hard not to. Naruto was just about to answer her, when a messenger bird came down, and landed on his shoulder. He recognized the bird as being one of the Hokages and took the note off its leg. He looked to the note. Naruto, rooftop. Now. Tsunade. Naruto sighed, wondering what he did not. He usually only got called there as he did something stupid. He looked to Karen, who was trying to seem like she wasn't interested in the note. Even though they weren't dating, Karen got jealous easily. It was very funny to see. I gotta go. Tsunade wants to see me. Naruto said to Karen. Karen puffed her cheeks stubbornly, and sighed. We can go eat another time. Promise. Naruto stated, holding his pinky out. Karen smiled, and pinky shook. You know, if Tsunade were younger, I'd say you were cheating on me. Naruto smiled, and shook his head. We're not dating, and I'm not with Tsunade. I call her granny for God's sake. Naruto informed and laughed. Karen blushed, and turned her head stubbornly. She didn't like him bringing up them not dating. As Naruto turned to walk away, Hinata quickly hid. She hated not feeling able to approach him. As she stood, Knowing he was walking her way, she thought about how weird she felt, following him all the time. She wasn't a little kid anymore. It was creepy now. Well, she thought. I could ask him now. As he walked by her, Hinata stepped out, and closed her eyes tightly as she yelled. Naruto, I'd like to ask you. Not now, Hinata. Gotta go to Suon's. Naruto said deep in thought, cutting Hinata off. Hinata felt crushed, standing completely still. I should have known. The bird was for him. I should have recognized it. Hinata thought to herself, completely crushed. Better luck next time, Karen said, popping up behind her. Hinata screamed in terror from being scared, and fell down. Just so you know, though, I'd be okay with you two going out. You're cuter than I am. I would stand no chance. No, I wasn't going to ask him out. Hinata yelled in her, though lying, defense. Please don't act like you weren't following us. I could sense you following us this whole time. Karen whispered. I'm sorry. It's okay. I know you have liked him a long time, but you gotta act like you just tried, but try again. Karen encouraged. He has to say yes eventually. Naruto got to the top of the tower to see Tsunade looking over the railing. As she looked over the village, Naruto walked up, and stood next to her. You wanted to see me? Yeah, Naruto. What would you think if I told you that I told you, hypothetically, I passed a clan restoration act for you? You would have to tell me what a clan restoration act is. It's exactly what the name implies. Tsunade yelled in aggravation over his continued stupidity. Have you ever heard of polygamy? No. Multiple wives. Ah, Naruto said, and paused quickly. He thought for a moment before saying anything. Wait, you want me to have multiple wives? I'm asking what you think of the idea. Oh, Naruto sat by Tsunade, and took the time to think. If you don't like it, there is this. Tsunade stated, handing him a folder. Naruto read the tab, which said Naruto, political marriage. Political marriage? Naruto asked, shocked. You can look in it if you want. It may ruin the surprise, for you at least. Well, it has to be Tamari. Naruto said, surprising Tsunade. Wow, you figured that one out. I only know one girl from another village. It was easy. Naruto smirked. Tsunade groaned in annoyance. I need to think about both. Naruto murmured. She is here. She wants to get to know you better. She knows she likes you. Not love obviously, but likes. I thought she liked Shikamaru. I thought the same thing. But they fell apart some time ago, I guess. You don't need to answer anytime soon, but I hope it's within a month. Remember, you don't have to marry anyone, if you say yes, on the spot. I know, I don't know, it feels strange to think about. We have talked about stranger things. Stranger to me at least. What do you think about it? I think, from a man's standpoint, it is like a dream come true. I'm surprised any man would think about it, but you aren't just any man. Do you think I should? From a Hokage's standpoint, yes. You would be saving 2 clans. As a person, I can't make that decision. What bonuses would I be getting out of it? Besides several wives? Tsunade asked, surprised he would ask the question. Though I guess that could be a punishment too, if you didn't play your cards right, well, you would be part of the Shinobi Council. Besides that, you would receive a clan home. I see, and if I just accepted the political marriage? He further questioned. Tsunade was surprised he was covering all grounds with this questioning. He almost sounded like a Hokage getting insight into a situation from his council. You would strengthen the relationship with the Sand Village. Though we already have a strong relationship with them, the people in the village would take it harshly. I really have to ask that you at least accept that. So basically, I have the choice of pleasing one village, or both. Well, in the eyes of some, yes. Tsunade said awkwardly. Though that is a very straightforward way to look at it. Think of it like this. How many girls do you know that would be crushed if you were suddenly ripped from the market? Well, Naruto mumbled. He instantly went through the list of women who treated him differently, or at least like they were into him at all. How about this? We could say you are accepting the Clan Restoration Act, and see who wants in. Accept the political marriage, and go on with life for now. Does that sound okay? Just a second, Naruto whispered, and closed his eyes. Tsunade had seen this before. He was going to ask the fox's opinion. Naruto opened his eyes, and he was in his mind's land. It was a pure white room, with spikes of orange shooting up along the background. Turning, Naruto found the fox, looking at him with a look of boredom. The two looked at each other for a moment before either moved. Being uncaged at this point, the fox suddenly swiped at Naruto, who jumped into the air. Naruto changed into his sage mode just in time to catch the fox's paw, and get swiped into the ground. As Naruto stood, struggling to hold the fox's paw up above him, he yelled to the fox. Can we skip this right now? I want to talk. No training today. The fox grinned slyly as he raised his paw off of Naruto. Laying down again, he watched as Naruto walked up to him, and sit on his paw. What do you think about what Tsunade is asking of me? The fox looked at Naruto for a moment, and sighed. I would have thought you would have liked the idea of several wives. You always surprise me. Well, first, this is your mind. Make something in it so I'm not bored all the time. Naruto sighed, and closed his eyes. He knew what he would make. He just had to do it right. Close your eyes, Naruto commanded. The fox grunted, and did as he was told. When Naruto opened his eyes, the space looked like a giant version of the Leaf Village. The fox opened his eyes when he felt Naruto crawl to the top of the fox's head. Looking around, the fox sighed. Of course you make it look like the village. You really are Hokage material. Everything looks like it does when I see things through your eyes. So what do you think? The fox walked around in the large village, that was sized to make it seem like he was the size of a cat. The fox sighed yet again. If the fox didn't owe Naruto so much, he would tell him to figure it out on his own, though Naruto was only asking for advice. After the war, Naruto took his time to try and shoulder all of the fox's hate. Though he later took Itachi's advice to share a burden, from when they met a second time during the war. Naruto began letting people into his mind to meet the fox. Anyone close to Naruto met him, and the fox eventually began to open up. I think you should consider it. I look at it like, combine your stamina and power with other people's positives, and you have some great possible ninja. Though the usual family function for you humans may be changed because of it, I say, go for it. I see. I'll leave for now so you can get acquainted with your new home. I could resize it sometimes so it is correctly sized, and you could attack. It could be good training. Okay. Stop by with friends next time. Is that a part of the reason you said go for it? Because you want more people to visit you. That, I want you to be happy, and I could have a future container. The fox said, and smiled when he said the last one. Naruto laughed at first, then jumped down from the fox's head. Thanks for that. It'll be sure to come by soon. Naruto closed his eyes, and exited his mind. Naruto opened his eyes yet again, and looked to Tsunade. Tsunade stood next to him, and had seen him change to sage mode. She had met the fox before, once while the fox was angry, and once when he was calm. He wanted to fight, she asked. Yeah, he stopped and gave me advice. I made him a copy of the village in my mind. He seemed to like it. That's good, but what did he say? Kinda what you said, from the Hokage's standpoint. Though, he put it more like how it would affect him kinda. I see. But what do you think? Well, Naruto started, considering his options. I will accept the political marriage. And the CRA. I accept. Naruto had accepted the Clan Restoration Act, which meant that Tsunade had a lot to do. While Naruto was out getting to know Temari, Tsunade was putting together a list of possible people for Naruto to marry. Though she had put it off 2 weeks, wanting to give Naruto a little bit of a head start with Temari so the people of the Sand Village would be happy, she decided it was time to start doing things. She had set up an anonymous sign-up sheet at the door outside the mansion, and left it there for 7 days. In that amount of time, 10 people had signed the list. At first, they had to look at it in amazement. Then again, he was a hero. Besides that, several other political marriage contracts had come in, some from within the village. The Hyuga clan had been the first to put a couple out, offering both Hinata and Hanabi Hyuga. After that, the Yamanaka clan had been the second, offering up Ino. Other villages had sent contracts also, one coming from the Lightning Village, one from the Mist, and several from the Hidden Stone Village. Tsunade felt cautious over who to pick from the Stone Village, as some of Minato's greatest enemies had been from that village. A knock at the door signaled the start of the meetings. This one was going to probably one of the strangest, as it involved the fate of a 12-year-old girl. Come in, Tsunade commanded, and in walked the first appointment. The head of the Hyuga clan, Hiyashi Hyuga, walked into the office. In tail were Hinata and Hanabi. Hinata looking nervous as ever, and Hanabi looking as confident as always. Thank you, Lady Tsunade, Hiyashi murmured as he sat in the chair in front of the desk. Hanabi and Hinata sat to either side of him. First off, why Hanabi? I will answer that, Hanabi called as she stood up. Tsunade looked to Hanabi with a slight look of surprise. While Hanabi was young, she sounded very mature. Go ahead, Hiyashi stated, giving her a nod. Tsunade disliked his position in this. The two girls should have come alone, rather this getting turned into a possible council meeting between the two elders. Naruto has always been so nice to me. There were times where he would buy me things if I had forgotten my money. I know it was really a matter of right place, right time. Still, he would bring me gifts just because it was a nice thing to do, and he wanted to be friendly. Though there was no intentional romance from him, I still felt like I was growing to love him. I've always known my sister has loved Naruto, which is the only reason I held myself back. Now that he is up for the Clan Restoration Act, I can actually tell him how I feel. There was even a time where he took me to get dumplings. While I know it meant nothing, I still view it as my first real date. Tsunade paused for a moment, thinking about Hanabi's statement. She definitely meant it. Tsunade just couldn't decide if it was okay that such a young girl might get married. I have a problem with your age though. Under the Clan Restoration Act, any girl over the age of 12 is allowed. Hiyashi instantly insisted. Tsunade looked back to him, thinking once again that he should not have been there. She is the younger sister, and, if she is not put in this, she will receive the caged bird seal. The only reason she hasn't got it yet, is because I have fought a rule that is sure to be passed, saying that only one person per generation can be without the caged bird seal. The entire Hyuga clan is behind it. And there it was. Though he always seemed mean to his girls, to her at least, he showed his reason right there. He was always looking out for them, and trying to protect them in the long run. Hinata never needed the intense training Hanabi received because Hinata would always have the branch of the clan to protect her. This was the easiest way to make sure his daughter would escape a life of possible torture. I see. Tsunade knew Naruto would have fought it if there had not been a good reason for him to marry her. This was going to be the reason Naruto was going to accept her. Now Hinata, Hiyashi started, allowing her to stand before he started to speak, but was instantly cut off by Hinata herself. Father, could I please speak to Lady Tsunade alone? Hinata asked awkwardly. Hiyashi looked at Hinata for a moment, then sighed. Suddenly standing, he left. Hinata sighed, thinking that when he stood, he would strike her. Go ahead, Tsunade said after Hiyashi left. Hinata took a deep breath, and did her best. I have always loved Naruto in some way since I was young. He always inspired me to try harder, he always looked out for his friends, always stuck up for me, always helped me. Hinata said, blushing so hard her face looked like a tomato. She played with her fingers as she talked, obviously more nervous than Tsunade expected. Tsunade had always known Hinata loved the village hero, even back when he was the bane of the village. That's enough. I know all of that, Hinata. You can sit. You are one of the people that I was going to tell Naruto he should pursue even if you didn't show up. I'm sure he is going to pick you. That was enough of a promise that she would marry her love, and Hinata passed out. Hanabi looked at the body on the ground for a second, and walked over. As she tried to wake her sister, Tsunade took the moment to speak to Hanabi with her father still out of the room. I will strongly suggest he accept you too. If, for nothing else, then for your own sake. You have plenty of time, however, to convince him of your love. Tsunade informed. Thank you, Lady Hokage. As Hanabi kept trying to revive Hinata, Tsunade couldn't shake the feeling this was going to be a long day. Naruto jumped through the air, following Temari as close as he could. The two had been dating for 13 days, and had started to get along really well instantly. Temari was able to understand Naruto easily because a lot of what happened to him had happened to her own brother. Naruto couldn't understand why she liked him so much, but knew that if he was going to be married to her and several others, he needed to be able to create bonds quickly, as the act would have to be viewed as upheld as soon as possible. Getting to spend time with Temari was nice though. She was willing to eat ramen constantly, just as he liked. Just yesterday, she home cooked him ramen, though she made something else for herself. She had even gotten him to eat vegetables, though it had resulted in some very close contact, which made them both uneasy at first. Now though, they felt at ease around each other. Even though it was just yesterday, they felt closer to each other from that one experience. Today, they were going to get something to eat at the Yakinkukyu, the place Choji loved to eat at, and Temari said she had a surprise for Naruto. Naruto didn't pry, as he wanted the surprise to remain a surprise. The two landed on the ground in front of the BBQ place, and walked inside. A waitress almost instantly took them to a seat, and got them their drinks, and took their order. As they waited for them to start the small grill they could cook their own food on, and bring the meat, they took the time to talk. So, do you think you are ready for the surprise? Temari asked, looking at him happily. Yeah, I'm ready for anything, Naruto shouted excitedly. Temari smiled happily, with a small piece of a sneaky look on her face. We will just have to wait and see about that. Just wait and see. The waitress brought them their food, and the two began to speak again. Though they kept an eye on their food, the two were excited to talk. So, why did you want to be part of a political marriage? Naruto asked. If it would have been anyone else, I think I would have stayed away from the idea. But you have always been nice to people, when people have been mean to you. You are able to overcome great odds when everyone tells you to give up and it's hopeless. You have always been willing to help anyone who wants or needs help. You have helped my brother so many times, and when I heard you were becoming part of the CRA, I knew I had my chance to at least get to know you, rather than having no chance at all due to me hardly being around, and all the other attractive women here. Temari had stopped speaking, and felt a hand on hers. Looking down, Naruto had taken her hand in his, holding it tightly. Smiling, she looked up to Naruto. Why did you accept the political marriage? Temari finally asked. Naruto twitched a bit, and rubbed his hand through his hair. Well, at first it was to strengthen our village's bonds. Then, well, we started hanging out. At first, it was getting to know you, but I really like you now. I mean, it's not love yet, but I think it will come. I'm glad I accepted the marriage. Temari smiled, and held his hand for a moment longer. They would have to eat their food before it burnt. So why did you two come together? Tsunade asked the two kunoichi who sat before her. Both Ino and Karen had walked into her office at the same time. While it didn't surprise Tsunade that they both had signed up to be part of this, she didn't expect the two to come busting into her office, like they usually did, fighting with each other as they came in. Well, I had the first appointment, Karen instantly said. And I didn't want her getting the appointment ahead of me. Asuma told me before he died never to let my rival win, and since Sakura has barely been seen by anybody, Karen took up the role of being my rival. Ino inserted. Tsunade sighed, but decided the day would go faster, Sting she would have a lot of the suspected list taken care of right away. Though there was a lot more to do, she felt it would be better in the long run. Fine, another joint appointment. So, one at a time please, explain why you want to be with Naruto. Go ahead, Ino said, sounding too sure of herself. Fine. Lady Tsunade, I'm sure you have seen Naruto and I walking around the village. He always smiles when we are together, he has saved my life, brought me here, and he insisted I become a Leaf Village ninja. My life, for the past 2 years, is all thanks to him. I'd be insane if I didn't love him even a little. Alright, and Ino, I always used to be a Sasuke fangirl. I'm aware of what that did to my friendships with other people, and what it did to my life as a whole. Though Naruto never treated me differently for the way I acted. Hell, he even ran errands for me if I asked. We went out before also. When he brought Sasuke back, I stayed away from Sasuke because I had made up my mind. Naruto was definitely better for me anyway. And you don't mind sharing? Well, not really. Except with her. Karen yelled, pointing to Ino. Ino instantly stood up, getting in Karen's face. Like you're going to get a chance. Ino yelled. You think you will? He will be too busy with me. Says you. This is getting annoying. I should just recommend one or the other. Single quote. Tsunade thought to herself. Unable to control her mind, she remembered all the trouble Naruto had given her over the years. Calling her granny in front of anybody, no matter how important the person was. Giving her more gray hairs than nature could in 10 years. He was a constant pain in her side through the years. Though he was tied with troubles he had given her with times he had saved her. Maybe a little payback would be okay. Okay. Thank you. I will definitely put you both down as important people to consider. Tsunade interrupted them. Not wanting this meeting to come to a fist fight, she was quick to end it. Standing, she quickly moved, and though laughing, shoved them out the door as fast as possible. Alright, maybe the worst is over. Naruto and Temari had finished eating, and got their check. As they walked out, Temari took Naruto's hand in hers. The two smiled, Temari realizing that if she wanted to live happily, she needed to try her hardest, and Naruto realized having someone like Temari around was changing his life for the better. Gotta close your eyes till we get to the secret place. Temari whispered into his ear. Oh, okay, Naruto said excitedly, and closed his eyes tightly. Temari smiled happily as she led her husband to be through the village. There were quite a few people who looked at the two, several smiling at the couple walking along. As they walked along, Temari reached her destination. The Konoha Hot Springs. You can open your eyes. Temari whispered. Naruto opened them, and looked at where they were. Blushing instantly, he looked to Temari, who smiled brightly at him. She stood on her tiptoes, and kissed him on the lips. Here, he stammered. Is it okay, or would you rather go some other place? She asked instantly. Here is fine. You know there is a divider, right? Not in the couple's rooms. Oh, Naruto whispered, blushing more. Can we go in? Yeah, Temari said, smiling brightly. Walking inside, the two went to the front desk, and Temari was the one who spoke, as Naruto seemed very nervous. Temari, though, seemed very sure of herself. We would like a couple's room. Are you Temari? I've heard about you. Congratulations on getting engaged to the village's hero. You gotta treat him well. The girl at the front desk said after Temari ordered. The desk girl grabbed the key to one of the rooms after she finished speaking. Of course. He has always been good to me. So I have to be good to him. The desk girl took them to a back room, and unlocked it. Filling the center tub with hot water, she started to coals, and poured water on them, steaming up the room instantly. She turned back toward them when she was done, and smiled. Changing rooms are on either side of the room. We ask that you keep things clean in the changing rooms, and dirty out here, she said, implying the obvious. Temari and Naruto looked at each other. Tsunade was almost done with the meetups. She had just met with Samui from Kumo. Tsunade didn't trust her. She was a cold person, who had the body Tsunade wished she had when she was 20. She seemed to only respect Naruto under the means he was powerful. Sadly, because it was the only political marriage contract from Kumo, she reluctantly accepted it. Iwa had sent a couple people for Naruto, saying he was welcome to dismiss any of them. Kuretsuchi was the only one she had agreed to, as the other ones were openly against the Leaf Village, to her face. Kuretsuchi probably disliked the village, and would probably butt heads with some of the other girls, but she was more manageable. That, and if they had the third Tsuchikage's grandchild, they could probably use her as a ransom if she became too much to deal with. At the end of the list was the person offered from the Mist Village. Ren Yoshida was her name, and she was a hunter nin before accepting to be an offering for the political marriage. Besides being part of the Anbu for her village, she did missions as one of the 7 swordsmen of the Mist. While Tsunade doubted they would send her with her sword, maybe it would show the Mist Village's dedication to the Leaf to entrust them with one of the swordsmen. Tsunade sat back, waiting for Ren to arrive. After this, she would have to wait 2 hours for Naruto to arrive, and see who she recommended. Maybe the waiting would be a good time for a nap, it had been a long day. Lying her head down on the desk, she closed her eyes, and started to drift off to sleep. Shizune was back today, and would wake her when the next person came. Tsunade had barely felt sleep start to take her when the door opened, and Tsunade woke up with a start. At the door was Shizune. Tsunade sat up slowly, and rubbed her eyes. Grabbing the bottle on her desk, she tried to take a drink, but remembered too late that the bottle was empty. Sighing, she sat the bottle down. You have another person here for your interview, Shizune said, throwing another bottle to Shizune. Tsunade's jaw dropped in shock. Shizune had never supported her drinking while working routine. Maybe, she was doing a good deed and deserved something for it. She wasn't sure. Thanks. Send her in. Right. Tsunade had just taken a big gulp of her new drink, and the last appointment walked in. Ren was 5 feet 2 inches and thin, with pale and lovely skin. Tsunade liked the look of her. She had smaller than Tsunade, which was completely unrelated to her liking Ren. The girl looked shy, but was obviously hiding an interior strength. No one who was shy and timid could survive as a hunter nin. Hello, Lady Hokage. I'm pleased to meet you, Ren whispered. Tsunade smiled, and waved her to a seat in front of the desk that quite a few girls had sat in that day. Ren sat down, and looked around the room. Before we start, I have a question. What are the plans with your swords? Ren looked at Tsunade for a moment with a look of surprise, and rubbed her head, smiling. Finally, those things. They will be here with me if my political marriage contract is accepted. Though, as was in the stipulation, I may have to go back to the village once in a while. I still have missions that I need to be a part of with the swordsman, is that okay? In the past this would have been a problem. But she didn't see it as a problem considering Konoha and Kiri were on very friendly terms already. What secrets could there be that she would bring back to the Mist Village? That's absolutely fine. I expect some of the other out-of-village girls to visit home also. There is no problem. Ren seemed relieved about that, and seemed to relax a bit. Thank you. Now, about Naruto, why do you think you would be a good wife for him? Well, I'm new to this whole relationship thing, but back in the war, he saved my life. I'm sure I was just another face to him, but it was obviously a big deal to me. When my village heard about the Clan Restoration Act being passed for him, I decided what better way to thank him, than to giving my life to helping him rebuild his clan. I see. Tsunade liked the answer. It was honest, like a lot of the reasons so far, and it showed that she did like Naruto. Also, I can summon tigers, and my elements are lightning and water, Ren quickly added. Tsunade internally sighed. That had nothing to do with her relationship with Naruto, but whatever. Alright, we will have plenty of time to become good friends, but for right now, I think that will be all. We will be accepting your marriage contract, so gather whatever things you want from your village, and be ready to move into the new clan house. Thank you, Lady Hokage. I look forward to my new life. Ren stood up and left, leaving Tsunade with a feeling that Ren was not going to have any problem fitting in with Naruto. She did feel bad about all the internal attention struggles that were going to take place, but it was something he would have to learn to deal with. Naruto walked from the changing room nervously, and looked to the changing room that Temari was in. At some point within the next hour, he was probably going to see her. While the thought did excite him, he was nervous. For the first time, he was actually thinking about how he looked. Before he had time to run back in the changing room, and make sure he had done everything possible to look good, the door to the changing room opened. Temari had her hair down, which was something Naruto had never seen. He wasn't sure, but he would. Temari, who was completely under the white towel she wore, stepped out of the room. Naruto gulped as she walked to the tub in the center of the room, and getting in with her towel on. Naruto was a little crushed she didn't drop the towel, but internally scolded himself for hoping to see her. Trying to get his mind off of it, he poured more water so the room would steam up. He was successful in making the room steam up a lot, so much to the point that it became hard to see. Fumbling his way around, he made it to the hot spring water tub in the center of the room, and got in with Temari. This feels good, Temari sighed, moving to cuddle up with Naruto. Naruto wrapped his arm around her shoulders, and sat back. Though it was awkward, he tried to relax. Time to get rid of this. Temari took the towel off, and tossed it behind her. Naruto tensed, and knew that relaxing was out of the question now. Temari moved closer to Naruto once again, and laid her head on his shoulder. It was quiet for a moment, and Naruto could feel himself blushing. Do you want me to put my towel back on? Temari asked after a minute. Naruto shook his head, but decided to vocalize his answer. No. I actually hoped you would. Temari put a finger to his lips, understanding his nervousness in the situation. She knew what he was trying to say, and was happy he was trying to vocalize his hope that she would have taken the towel off. It made her feel attractive. Would you take your towel off? She asked. Why, yeah. Naruto woke up in the best way he could have imagined, at first. Naruto opened his eyes, yawned, and looked to the sleeping beauty laying right next to him. The aroma of food cooking filled his nostrils, making his stomach start to grumble. At first, Naruto just wanted to look at the Hinata lying next to him. Then everything hit him. There was someone else in his apartment. Naruto's eyes grew wide as he realized what was wrong. Someone got into his apartment somehow, and started cooking. Naruto shook his head as he realized how strange of an occurrence this was. Who just sneaks into someone's place to cook? Naruto was just about to get up, when suddenly the person walked into the room. In the doorway was Temari, carrying 2 trays with food on them. Temari smiled, seeing that Naruto was awake, and quickly spoke. Morning, Naruto. I made you 2 some food. Temari. Naruto said, freaking out. This isn't what it looks like. What do you mean? She is going to be your wife too, so there is no problem with this. When the look of terror flashed off of Naruto's face, Temari had to fight back a laugh, if only to let Hinata get a moment more of sleep. Temari had fought back the urge to laugh, and instantly felt the need to speak more, adding, listen. Even if I get jealous about this, there is no reason. While the marriage is going to be unusual, there will be other women that you will have to sleep with at one point or another. I just have to live with it, because it is now a part of my life. Beyond that, Karen and Ino kinda taught me what sisterly love is like. Even though their brand of it is strange, I still am happy that I can someday have a chance of a bond like that. So I can live with this. Don't worry. Well, that's good, but, Temari. Yeah, how did you get into my apartment? Temari instantly realized how weird the whole situation seemed, and quickly began to try and tell her side of the story. Well, I wanted to do something nice for you too, so Jugo told me where you guys were at, and let me into your place. I really felt weird at the time, and I do now. I really hope this isn't going too far. No, it's a great idea. Thanks, Temari. Naruto started to shake Hinata as he talked. Hinata, wake up. Tamari made us breakfast. Hinata slowly stirred, and opened her eyes slowly. Looking and seeing Tamari as she sat the trays down, Hinata slowly sat up, forgetting that she was wearing nothing under the blanket. The instant she sat up, Naruto blushed heavily, seeming to be unable to take his eyes off her chest, while Tamari simply grinned. Looks like you two had a fun night. Hinata looked to Tamari with a confused look on her face, then spotted Naruto who was staring at her chest, so she followed his gaze. Looking down, she now noticed that she was wearing nothing herself, and quickly pulled the covers up to cover herself. Naruto blushed a deeper shade of red for being seen staring, and Tamari smiled. Hinata blushed to herself for letting Tamari see her partially. You two eat up. After you're done, I know Naruto has another date. Hinata, why don't you come hang out with me and the other future wives? Oh okay, that sounds nice. Hinata murmured, blushing still as she held the sheets tightly to her body. Tamari smiled, and walked over to her side of the bed. Hinata looked up sheepishly before Tamari lightly pulled the sheets away from Hinata. Hinata made an eep noise before Tamari bent over, and lightly kissed Hinata on the lips. Both Naruto and Hinata's eyes sprang wide open in shock. Tamari ended the kiss, and started her way out of the room. Oh, and Naruto, Tamari started, making Naruto snap out of his shocked look, and turn quickly toward Tamari. After getting a good look at her, I forgive you for talking about your date with her so much during our last date. Tamari left the room, and left the apartment. Hinata still looked shocked, so Naruto shook her lightly so she would snap out of it. Oh 1. Did she just kiss me? And 2. What did she say about your date with her? Hinata asked, still pretty red in the face. Okay, well, 1, yeah. I think she did. And 2, well, Naruto started, and blushed a bit. I was excited about going on a date with you. I guess I talked a little too much about it. Hinata forgot about the kiss thing as she heard Naruto explain he was excited about his date with her. She instantly blushed even more, and felt as though she were going to faint. Deciding that using up some of the built-up emotional energy would fix things, she pounced Naruto, hugging him as tightly as she could. Hinata looked up at Naruto, who had a look of surprise, and kissed him on the lips with such intensity, his lips hurt slightly. When she broke the kiss, she looked happily in Naruto's eyes. See, come on. Let's eat, honey. Naruto said nervously. Hinata felt her heart flutter, and she sat close to him as he grabbed the trays of food. Together, the two ate, and nervously got dressed, stealing a peek at one another every other second. Naruto and Hinata soon walked out of the apartment, and saw Tamari standing outside, waiting for them. Naruto and Hinata both looked surprised to see her. Tamari looked over, saw their surprise, and smiled. Were you standing out here the whole time? Naruto asked quickly. No, I actually talked with Jugo for a few minutes. I asked him to please get the others, and tell them to meet me at Ichiraku Ramen. He told me he was happy to help any wife of Naruto, and left. Now that you guys are out, I'll walk with you, if that's okay. Sure, Hinata answered. Tamari smiled, and wrapped one arm in Naruto's, and motioned for Hinata to do the same. We don't want him recruiting any other wives, so we better keep a tight hold on him. Tamari said to Hinata. Hinata smiled, nodded, and took Naruto's other arm. The three walked down the street toward Hinata's home, both so she could drop off her things, and so Naruto could get Hanabi. As the three walked up to the clan home, they noticed Hiyashi standing outside, looking aggravated. As they walked closer, Naruto finally noticed Hiyashi's aggravation. Figuring he was going to take it out on him, or it was his fault, Naruto began to drag his heels severely. Come on, Naruto, what's wrong with you? Tamari yelled, pulling him as hard as she could at this point. Hinata was right next to her, also pulling as hard as she could. Naruto was apparently stronger than the two of them. Naruto, what's wrong? Hinata grunted as she struggled to pull him. Your father looks pissed. Naruto whimpered. Hinata turned her head, and saw him. He did indeed look pissed. The tug of war eventually turned into Tamari trying her hardest to pull the two toward the mansion, but she found that she was moving nowhere. Feeling ridiculous, Tamari was just about to give up pulling the two when Hiashi suddenly yelled out to them. Naruto. Hinata. Miss Tamari. Please stop messing around. Hiashi growled. They all jumped in their spots, and ran over as fast as possible. All three stood at attention. Hiashi smiled internally as he saw the humor in his situation. The one shinobi in the village that could probably destroy him with a single jutsu was too polite, and acted as though Hiashi were a god. He felt slightly calmer, but he was still aggravated. I'm sorry we are so late. I woke up late, then Tamari stopped by and made us breakfast, then we talked for a few. I know we should have been here sooner. I'm so sorry. Naruto yelled quickly, and nervously. Hiashi sighed, now knowing he had led them to a false conclusion. No, that's not what I am angry about. And thank you, Miss Tamari, for accepting Hinata. I know you two are both in a weird situation, and it means a lot to hear that you two might get along. It makes me wonder if I should consider Naruto's other wives sisters to Hinata. Maybe I should wait to see how they get along with her first. Hiashi mumbled. Realizing he was off track, he got on with what he had to say. Anyway, Hanabi is away on a mission. It came in this morning, and the team needed her. I do apologize, Naruto. No, it's okay. I can take her out another time. Naruto said, not all too concerned. He did have to wonder now, though, who was he going out with? You could just take us out, Naruto. Tamari said, holding his hand. Hinata and I would like that. Hiashi smiled, thinking at first she was going to keep Naruto for herself, but including Hinata made him gain respect for her. He would defiantly be treating her like a daughter. Wait, a voice yelled a small way away. They turned, and saw Ino and Karen running toward them. Tamari sighed, and Naruto and Hinata simply looked curiously. Hiashi sighed, and looked at the three that were already there. Well, I'm going inside. Hinata, come in if things change, and Tamari may join you if she so wishes. Hiashi left as Karen and Ino got there. Naruto smiled as they got there, and started talking. Hey guys, what's up? We just heard Hanabi isn't in the village. You have already went out with both of them, so you have to go out with somebody else. Ino yelled. Says who? Tamari retorted. Before the two could start fighting, Naruto chimed in. I agree, he said, surprising all four women. Think about it, Tamari. It's better that I know and date them all so the wedding can happen sooner. Tamari though for a moment, and nodded in agreement. She hated getting pushed around and told something like Ino just did, feeling their relationship strain, but luckily, Naruto saved them from having a real issue. Do you want to come inside for a bit before we head to the meet-up? Hinata asked Tamari. Sure. Got nothing else to do for a bit. As the two girls walked into the Hyuga mansion, Naruto looked to the two girls in front of him. So which one of you am I taking out today? Me, Ino instantly said. Karen looked at her quickly with a look of anger on her face. No, you're taking me out today. Karen insisted, walking over to Naruto and grabbing his hand. No, he is taking me out. Ino shouted in response, and grabbed Naruto's arm. The two girls looked aggravated, and looked as though they were about to fight. The two then snapped their heads toward Naruto. Which are you taking out? They both yelled. Naruto began sweating bullets. He didn't want to anger either of them, and was not looking forward to either of them fighting the other over his decision. I'll leave that up to you two. Naruto said scared and nervously. The two looked at each other with such intensity. Naruto backed up as much as he could while being held in place in fear one of their heads would explode from the intensity of the stares. Just take both of us. Karen said looking back to Naruto as though no anger had ever existed between Ino and herself. It would be easiest. Ino included, with the exact same look on her face. Though Naruto was nervous of the idea, he had to agree it was the easiest idea. He also thought about how Ino and Karen reminded him a lot of Ino with Sakura a long time ago, though these arguments seemed to have peaceful endings. At least that one did, to his knowledge. Oh, okay. Naruto conceded. The two girls smiled happily, and both led Naruto off. Though he hoped he was done with the arguments, something told him it was going to be a fight every minute. Tamari walked into the Hyuga mansion with Hinata, and Tamari had to stop in her tracks. The Hyuga family was known to be a powerful and rich family, but the mansion appeared to be more well-furnished than the Hokage mansion and the hotel she was staying at, the most expensive one, combined. The art that covered the walls and sculpture that stood in corners in the first 20 feet looked like they cost more than the mansion itself. Each piece came from another village, as was obvious by the tags by each piece. While she was in the middle of the hall, she felt as though she tread carefully just to make sure she would break nothing. Hinata looked back, and saw Tamari acting overly careful. She then couldn't help but remember when she was young, that was the exact way she was. The thing that helped her get over it was the fact she hadn't ever come close to breaking anything. Granted, that was mostly due to the traps and barriers that protected the art. Tamari, are you okay? Hinata asked, walking back toward her. Why, yeah, I just have never seen this much net worth in one room. Tamari gasped. And I was at the Cage Summit years ago before the Fourth Shinobi War. I used to do the same thing that you just did. Trust me, you won't break anything. Look at them again. Tamari looked back to the art, and noticed several barrier tags, and a few razor-thin wire traps. Tamari smiled, feeling more in danger now than nervous. As she sped up a bit, the two entered into the first real room in the mansion. It was an outdoor garden, with an open roof, that led to the actual house. Tamari suddenly wondered how long it would actually take to see the house, rather than just the entryways. Hinata. Nice to see you joined us, Tamari, a voice said. Hiyashi walked out from his spot, hidden behind a tree in the garden. Hinata bowed to her father, and Tamari quickly copied her. Hiyashi raised a hand to cease, causing them to both stand up straight very quickly. That's not necessary. It's true that I usually have Hinata bow around when we have guests, but only to show obeisance. You, Tamari, seem like you will be more than a guest. The fact you two both showed up with Naruto, with neither of you looking sour about being around each other, shows me that. I am aware that you are the first to be officiated with Naruto, but you don't seem to hold it over Hinata. No, sir. Actually, on one of our first dates, I thought Hinata was following, and shouted out that she should join us. It turned out to be Jugo, but I still thought it would have been fun. Tamari explained. Hiyashi looked to Hinata for confirmation, to which she nodded. Hiyashi smiled, and motioned for them to follow. So, where are you staying, Tamari? Hiyashi asked, opening the real front door for them. At the hotel down the street. Luckily, my brother decided I should stay in the most expensive one. Nothing against the Leaf Village, but they do share one economic thing with the Sand Village. Both suffer from low-end hotels. Hiyashi stopped, and looked at Tamari. Tamari instantly figured she had insulted him when she insulted the hotels. She was just about to sincerely apologize when Hiyashi spoke. I will not allow you to stay in a hotel. You should not be charged for staying in the village when you are involved with our Hokage. Seeing as you and Hinata will have to get used to each other, I insist you move your possessions here, and stay with us. Hiyashi demanded. Tamari instantly fumbled with her words, surprised at the generous offer. And no, I wouldn't want to impose on both of you like that. Tamari insisted. Hinata, what do you think? Hiyashi asked, looking to his daughter. I think it could be fun. I've never really had a friend over. Hinata said. Excellent. Well, get your things, and move in here. You are welcome to any empty room you want. Or you could stay in Hinata's room for a while. I know girls like slumber parties. I think, Hiyashi said, and walked away from the two. Tamari looked at Hinata for some sort of sign of what to do. Let's go get your stuff before we have to meet up with the others. Hinata insisted, and led her out of the mansion, promising a tour when they had Temari's stuff. Naruto was being pulled down the street by both arms. One, being controlled by Ino, and the other by Karen. People in the area kept glancing at Naruto as he was forcefully pulled along by the women. We gotta get something to eat first. Karen shouted, attempting to lead Naruto in one direction. No, we have to get some shopping done. Ino yelled in return. We can do both, just pick one. Naruto murmured, unhappy with his current situation. Food. Karen yelled. Shopping. Ino yelled back. As the two fought over him, Naruto entered his mind, and met up with the fox. Luckily, his body would be on autopilot, as though it were a clone. What's the problem, Kit? Kurama asked. Naruto looked up at him. I might go insane on this date. Naruto said as he sat down. The fox laid down, and grunted. I understand. Having to listen to these two may cause me to go insane as well. You have only been out with them for all of 10 minutes, and they have fought most of it. Why don't you just take control of what you three do? That way there is no reason for them to fight. Kurama explained. I could, I guess, but what if they continue to fight? They seem to care for you enough to share you, so they might as well see your logic. There is only one way to find out, Kit. Naruto came out of his mind, and saw he was in the same situation. They were still arguing about where to go. Naruto was just about to attempt to declare what he thought they should do, when something happened. Ino was just about to yell, shopping, again, when her stomach growled loudly. The two of them smiled, and began to laugh loudly. You're right, Karen. Food does sound good, Ino said, and the two lead Naruto to get food. Wait. What just happened? Naruto asked suddenly, getting his confusion out in the open. The two looked at him, and smiled happily. Oh, that. You don't have to worry about that. Karen explained. We do that all the time. It's not serious or anything. We just like to disagree about little things vocally. It's not like we actually get mad at each other. Ino finished. Naruto looked at the two with a quizzical look. Wow, Ino. You always need somebody to fight with, don't you? Naruto laughed to himself. Ino smiled, lowering her head slightly. The obvious reference was about someone that no one talked to anymore. Sakura. No one had talked to her for a long time, and that was her own choice. She held a grudge against Naruto for forcing Sasuke back to the village. She held a grudge against him for allowing the village to throw him in the Leaf Village's maximum security prison. After all that happened, she refused to forgive anybody. For some reason, she had snapped beyond the ability to save. Everyone who was once her friend had eventually given up trying to save her. She had fallen, and nothing could be done. The same could be said for her reason for breaking. Sasuke was just as bad as she was. Even after talking with Itachi, even after helping stop the impure world resurrection jutsu, he was lost. He had watched his last relative die a second time, and it proved to be too much for him to bear. The moment the war was over, he was captured, and brought back to the Leaf Village. After an evaluation of his mind, he was deemed too insane to walk the streets, and too powerful to put into a mental asylum. So he was thrown into the Leaf's prison, with visits from the Leaf's top psychiatrist. Nothing helped the poor Uchiha, and he was left to rot. Sorry, you guys, Karen whispered, realizing the hardship they had went through. She brought them both into a hug, holding them tightly. They both returned the hug, feeling the drain on their emotional state. Naruto and Ino were the ones most affected by the loss of both Sasuke and Sakura to insanity. Though it had been a while, it was an emotional wound that would take a long time to heal. Thanks, Karen, Naruto said, burying his face into her neck. I forget how much I miss the old days, thanks for being there, Karen. Ino said, hugging her best friend tightly. Naruto and Ino fought off tears, and Karen supported them her best. Let's skip food. I'm sure you guys are not hungry. Let's get our minds off it by heading to the shopping district. Karen insisted. Naruto and Ino both agreed, feeling like they needed to get their minds off of the past. Where do you guys want to go? I could really use some new jumpsuits. Naruto mentioned. Yeah. Clothing shopping sounds nice. Ino agreed. Karen smiled at them. Okay. My treat. It's the least I can do. Karen said, giving the two a final, big hug. Ino and Karen both took one of Naruto's hands, and held tightly. Together, the three walked off to get said shopping underway. Temari and Hinata walked into the meeting place for the future wives. At the table they claimed their own, sat Samui and Ren. As they walked up closer, and noticed another was sitting with them. It turned out to be none other than the Hokage, Lady Tsunade. "Hello, Lady Hokage. What brings you here?" Hinata asked, taking her seat, and scooting over on the booth seat for Temari. After they were seated, Tsunade decided to answer. "I've come to discuss two things. One, the names you will take, and another is a little info I feel you should know." Tsunade informed. The four there looked at her, nodding, saying there are 8 of you, 4 will become Namikaze, and 4 will become Uzumaki. The ones who will become Namikaze are Temari, Hanabi, Ino, and Kuretsuchi. The Uzumaki are Hinata, Karen, Samui, and Ren. Kuretsuchi is going to hate that. Samui laughed to herself. If she would have come out here like she was asked, then this would have turned out differently. However, the humor in her taking the Namikaze name is too funny to pass up. I hope none of you will tell her until she arrives for good. Tsunade asked. All of the future wives nodded. Alright. Now, there are some reasons for the name selection. For instance, Hinata has loved him long before she knew his other last name. Karen is going to adopt the name Uzumaki, as she is an Uzumaki. Everyone looked at her with a mix of shock and realization. Almost all of them have heard the fact that most Uzumaki have red hair, but they all seem to assume she just had red hair, and nothing else. Beyond that, there were almost no Uzumaki anymore. People then realized how important it was that Karen and Naruto had children. They all wanted them, but Karen now seemed to carry a heavier weight on her shoulders, that she no doubt realized. Wow. So their children may have red hair as well? Temari asked. Possibly. However, Naruto got his blonde hair from his father, so there is a chance they won't. Tsunade answered. Though I have to say, the Leaf Village has always used the Uzumaki symbol on the back of our flak jackets. If they have any red-haired children, or any of you have them, they will be offered the Clan Restoration Act as well. Granted, it would have to be male children. Men are too primitive to share one woman, and a woman can only have a child about a year, unless it's twins. Roughly, of course, but a boy could have multiple wives with a chance of many offspring. Like this current situation. They all seem to look at each other, thinking about their future children at that exact moment. They all thought if they wanted their kids to be in a somewhat similar situation. Samui really didn't care, as long as her child's spouse, or plural of such, were strong. Ren herself used her own thought process, that the child had to have earned the love of her child through heroics. Temari herself couldn't make that kind of decision, knowing full well that she wanted to experience a lot of what it was like before she would recommend it to her children. Hinata had a very similar ideal to Temari's. While they would probably discuss part of that during the day, they all silently agreed to wait for the others in order to get everybody's input, even though it would only affect their own children. I really need to get back to the mansion. I just really wanted to stop by, and inform you all of what was going on. Tsunade stated as she stood. As she began to walk away, she quickly turned around. One more thing. The wedding will be 1 week after Naruto has dated all of you. After today, if my information is correct, then there will only be 4 left. It's approaching quickly. I hope you are ready. Tsunade took her leave, and the future wives sat by themselves. Today's meeting had only started, and there was already a lot on the table. The basic time of the wedding was set, they knew what names they were taking, and several things to think about. And it was barely after 12 o'clock. The three had just finished shopping, and had employed Naruto to carry their bags. As they walked ahead, leading him to the place they were going to eat, he was trying to look through the bags that they had given him to carry. The only reason he was so curious was because they had apparently gotten him something, and he wanted to know what. He hadn't seen the item, but at one point or another Ino or Karen had vanished. All he could see in the bags he could look at were shirts and pants for Karen and Ino. One bag contained 3 new jumpsuits for Naruto, looking exactly like the one he had on now. It was difficult to look in all the bags, as there were a whopping 10 bags at least. Naruto had regrettably not paid attention to how many. Stop looking. We will give you the gift when we get to the place we are eating, Ino said, seeing him looking at the bags as they went along. Karen looked back at him, and smiled brightly. Naruto had to control himself from looking into the bags, due to the fact that one of them looked back every so often, and he knew he would be scolded for looking when told not to. While it shouldn't have been a big deal to the strongest ninja in the village, if they told him to stop, he would. He wasn't that used to having friends, so he didn't really want to aggravate anyone, even if they were future wives. As they got to the designation the women picked to eat, Naruto had the opportunity to sit the bags down, and look around. He knew this place. Ichiraku Ramen. Naruto yelled in excitement. The 2 girls smiled happily, glad Naruto was excited that they had remembered what place he liked to eat. In all truth, it was village knowledge. This one is on me, Ino said, and sat at the seat nearest her. Naruto sat next to her, and Karen on the other side of Naruto. Tsuki walked to the counter, and saw Naruto with 2 of his future wives. Hey Naruto. And I recognize these 2. Miss Ino, and Miss Karen. Welcome to my ramen stand, Tsuki said, grabbing his order pad. If neither of you can match Naruto in his eating habits, then I will pay for the meal. One of us can, Karen whispered. Tsuki looked at the girl in slight disbelief, not thinking neither Ino, nor Karen, could keep up with Naruto. I doubt that. Now, what will you guys be having? Tsuki asked. I'll start with 2 bowls of miso soup ramen, Naruto shouted excitedly. I guess I'll have the same, Ino said, never having eaten at the ramen stand. Me too, Karen murmured. It wasn't long till their food was brought to them. Ino looked at the 2 bowls brought to her with wide eyes, having no idea she was going to be ordering something so massive. Naruto instantly dug in, and Karen followed along with Naruto. Ino glanced at the 2, wolfing down their ramen like they hadn't eaten in years. Ino attempted to follow along, but found the amount of food daunting. It wasn't that long till Naruto had finished his 2 bowls, and pushed them forward to be collected, and refilled. He looked to Ino, seeing her taking her time with her first bowl. He gave her a reassuring smile, and looked over to Karen. The second he did, his eyes grew wide. She too had pushed her bowls forward to be refilled. She didn't look full at all, and seemed to be in the same shape he was. When Karen noticed him looking at her, she shyly turned away, worried he had seen her eating like a pig. You ate those already? Yeah, Karen whispered, ashamed. Sweet. Finally there is someone who can eat ramen with me. Everybody always stops so quickly, and want to leave right away, Naruto said, and hugged her in a happy expression. Karen blushed and fixed her glasses, thankful he accepted her rather than being disgusted by her ability to eat. I can't offer free ramen if you 2 are going to devour our entire stock, Tsuki shouted. He was busy making ramen as fast as he could, with his daughter doing the same. It's okay. I will pay, Ino insisted, causing both Karen and Naruto to look at her thankfully. She had been out to eat with Karen before, so she knew what she was in for. She just guessed it would be Karen times 2. She was wrong. As the bowls continued, Ino noticed Karen was able to devour more now that she had competition, though it was more likely she felt she didn't have to hold back. Soon, Naruto and Karen were on their 8th helping apiece, 16 if you counted each bowl, rather than the order refills. Suddenly, Ino was checking her wallet to see how much she had. After doing the math, she figured she could pay for 20 order refills apiece, double if it was paid by the bowls. Ino continued on her food, hoping she could stretch it out to last as long as they would eat. After another half hour, Karen and Naruto had finished their food. They had refilled their orders 13 times, resulting in 26 bowls of ramen apiece. Ino simply sat there staring at them in horror, unaware anybody could inhale that much food in the total time of 45 minutes. Naruto and Karen both leaned forward, relaxing as they digested their food. I only have enough for 20 of each of their orders, and mine. Ino said, putting the money on the table. Tsuki picked it up, and put it in the register. It's alright. The rest is on us. Thanks for treating Naruto, and thanks for being a part of his life. It's nice to see people being nice to him. Believe me, I've seen my fair share of the difficulty in his life, and I'm glad he will have plenty of people to love him now. I hope to meet the rest of his future wives eventually. He is like a son to me. Tsuki said, smiling to both Karen and Ino. He does deserve it. He has lived for nothing than to serve the village his whole life. Now, they are finally paying him back for that, and all the harshness in his life. Ino said, reaching over, and squeezing Naruto's hand. Naruto looked to her, and smiled happily. Karen did the same with the other hand. And it's nice to see you two dealing with the entire thing so well. You don't even seem to mid that the other is here. Tsuki pointed out. Well, we are best friends. It will be like we're sisters, with the same husband. Karen stated. All Tsuki could do was laugh at the response. He really liked these two. He had met Hinata, met Tamari, and was a little excited to meet the others. They all seemed to like him a lot, and that meant the world to Tsuki. So what should we do now? Naruto asked. Karen and Ino looked at each other. Both shrugging, they looked to Naruto. Let's head back to your place, and give you the stuff we got you. Ino suggested. Naruto nodded in excitement, and stood up quickly. He was ready to go. Karen laid a big tip on the table, which was what she had left in her wallet, and they walked off, leaving Tsuki smiling at the friendship and love they seemed to have with and for Naruto. The wives sat at the meeting place, enjoying each other's company. It had been a while since Tsunade had left. They had all eaten, and discussed the day's events, and all things since they last met up. Samui had opened up to the others slightly, talking more than she had too, though not by much. They each shared their stories about Naruto, so they could all gain a better understanding of what he was like. Samui and Ren, who knew very little about Naruto, found the story sharing very helpful. They discovered that Naruto was exactly what they had heard. Selfless to the point of self-destruction, caring enough that he would do anything, keeping every promise he ever made no matter how long, and was amazingly resilient. He had left such an impression on Tamari and Hinata that it seemed as though they wanted this marriage more than Ren and Samui did. Not to say they didn't want it. Sorry, but I need a drink. I'm happy everything I have heard about Naruto was true, but this is a lot to take in. Samui said, and waved the waitress over. I'll have a glass of wine, please. You guys want anything? Beer. Tamari answered. Sake. Both Ren and Hinata said. In all truth, Hinata and Ren would have been fine without it, but if the other two were, and they themselves didn't mind the idea, why not? They got their drinks, and settled into talking. You know, I'm kinda jealous that you guys have such a history with Naruto. It makes me feel kinda bad. How about you, Samui? Ren asked. A little, but that's why we are here now. Time to catch up. Yeah, and we all have something that Naruto did for us. Saved your and Ren's lives. Saved my family from destroying itself. And he inspired Hinata to be more confident, and to push herself to be a better ninja. Samui stated. Yeah, but we will have our turn when we are married to Naruto, Samui. Ren stated. Oh, and by the way, sorry Hinata, but Hinata got laid. Tamari chimed in, with no setup. Hinata instantly looked shocked, and swung her head in the direction of Tamari. Both Ren and Samui had different looks. Samui put a slightly perverted look on her face, while Ren suddenly blushed heavily. Hinata herself was blushing heavily, while Tamari defended herself by looking at Hinata, and saying, sorry. We're the wives, so gossip is all between us. It's okay. While Hinata did seem to calm down a little bit, while barely noticeable, she did calm down. Samui instantly noted something, though it was an early hypothesis. I think he has with whoever he is going out with at the time. Does that mean he is a super pervert? Ren instantly yelled a little too loudly. Both Tamari and Hinata instantly started laughing at the notion as people around them looked at the table in shock. No, if you knew Naruto, then you would know that. Not insulting the fact that you don't know him that well, but he isn't like that. When I slept with him, I was the one who started it. I assume it was the same way with you, Hinata. Tamari stated. Actually, Hinata started, causing Tamari to twist her head quickly in Hinata's direction. It was kinda both of us. So then it is possible. Tamari made him a addict. Samui joked. The Samui, Ren, and Tamari laughed, as Hinata blushed. So, who is he out with today? Ren asked. He's with Karen and Ino. Tamari said, suddenly realizing that Naruto was out with the two most interested women of all of them, that she could tell. Hinata's eyes widened, and slowly, she looked at Tamari. Samui looked at the two in confusion, and Ren was quick to do the same. He is an addict now, isn't he? Hinata asked. Yeah, Tamari answered. Wait, are those the two who argued you a lot? Samui asked. She remembered the two quite well, actually. She had to assume Naruto would find them more attractive than her, thus, she was jealous. Yeah, oh, God, he's a addict now, Ren yelled. The wives laughed, the thought of Naruto being an addict overly hilarious. The wives had finished their drinks, and quickly ordered seconds, and continued their conversations. Naruto had settled down on his couch, allowing Karen and Ino to get his gift into an appropriate bag to give to him. He really couldn't think of a reason they would be giving him gifts, but he never got that many in his life, so he would not turn one down. As Karen and Ino started into the room, Naruto found himself wishing he had gotten them gifts, though he wouldn't have known where to start. Hey, Naruto, Karen said, jumping over the back of the couch, and sitting next to him. Ino did the same, on the other side. Ino pulled a bigger bag from behind the couch, and sat it on Naruto's lap. Naruto smiled brightly as he opened the bag, and ripped the tissue paper that covered his gift out of the bag. As he got down to the gift, he pulled it out. The bag had contained a long jacket, much like his father's Hokage jacket, colored with white, orange, and black. Turning it around in his hands, he noticed print on the back. Namikaze Uzumaki Naruto. Naruto could hardly believe his eyes as he looked the jacket over. He noticed the inside had several equipment pockets. Naruto stood up faster than he ever had, and put the coat on quickly. He could hardly believe the fact they had gotten him this. We had them imprint the thing on the back the whole time we were there. That's why one of us kept leaving. We had to pick out the right jacket, the right colors, and the right print. Ino stated. Naruto was too enthralled to notice sounds going on behind him. The two stumbled into the room of the big house. They had been out all day, and started drinking about 4 hours ago, having drank more than they should have. As they got in, they stopped, and looked to the bed. It was a mistake to get this drunk. I can't remember where the spare bed roll is, one said. Damn, can't we just share your bed? I'm going to be staying here for a while, so we might as well be comfortable with each other, the other said.